Mr. Edwin Tong.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank members who have spoken. I will address some of the cuts here, and my colleagues from the Ministry will take the others. Sir, making Singapore a place we can proudly call home is at the heart of what we do at MCCY. We can achieve this through the collective action of everyone, united, cohesive, resilient, forging forward together, as Ms. Joan Pereira has suggested. She and Ms. Tin Pei Ling asked about MCCY's strategies to ensure that our society comes together in the face of uncertainty. Sir, when we look back at history one day, I'm sure that our responses, our collective responses to COVID-19 will be seen as a defining moment of our country's history. Where we go from here, the paths we choose to take will define us, and our values and our character will shine through in the choices that we make. And I'm moved by how our communities have stepped forward and supported one another. Ms. Ting shared some anecdotal stories, and I'm sure many of us in this House will have our own stories. To cite one example, the interracial and religious confidence circles worked with the Singapore Malay Chamber of Commerce and Industry to distribute more than 18,000 Hari Raya cookies to 16 community isolation facilities for migrant workers. Our community leaders have rallied behind our national vaccination programs, with senior religious leaders supporting the program. This is the spirit of Singapore Together, all hands on deck, partnering one another and with the government to build a better Singapore. In February 2021, we published the Singapore Together ESC, the Emerging Stronger Conversations report. It took stock of about 17,000 reflections and aspirations for us to emerge stronger. Conversations are good, but they must also lead to action and tangible outcomes. So we've therefore initiated the Singapore Together Alliances for Action, or the AFA. And the AFAs are action-oriented, cross-sector collaborations tackling complex issues which confront our society. This includes economic growth opportunities, youth mental well-being, which is a growing important issue, and low-wage workers. MCCY will set up 2 SG Together AFAs, bringing the total to 18. The first will be on emerging needs and volunteerism. This will focus on supporting mental wellness, helping seniors adapt to the new normal, and facilitating in-kind contributions. The second is on corporate purpose. This partners corporates to develop a national framework on corporate purpose and measuring impact to guide them in doing well by doing good. My colleague M.S. Elvin will share more details of these alliances. At MCCY, our scope is wide: arts, heritage, youth, sports, community relations. But at its core, it's about nurturing a more caring people, a more cohesive society, and a more confident nation. And building ties that bind us not only to one another, but to the place that we call Singapore, we call home, giving us a sense of place and of purpose, anchored to Singapore. I talked about our Singapore tapestry last year. We will continue to weave our diverse threads together and ensure that this tapestry remains strong and cohesive. Ms. Joan Pereira and Ms. Ching Li Hui asked about our efforts to foster greater social cohesion and mixing among youths. MCCY provides opportunities for Singaporeans of diverse backgrounds to interact. First, we encourage students to meet through arts and sports. The National Arts Council and Sport SG have been partnering MOE on the Strategic Partnership Co-Curricular Activity, the pilot that we've initiated since 2019. Through this, students not only participate in CCAs based outside of their schools, but they also get a chance to do so with other students from other schools, mixing with students from different backgrounds coming from a diverse range of schools. We will be reviewing this pilot to expand the program. Sport SG's academies and clubs have programs for youths across 17 sports, where students can take part in these sports, play with their peers from different schools. Participation in this program has been encouraging. We started with 15,000 in 2016. We've grown it to 90,000 in 2019. Second, we regularly engage our youths through voluntary activities and leadership development programs organized by the National Youth Council NYC, where students practice teamwork and collaboration. Third, we build mutual understanding through shared experiences. NAC's We Care Arts Fund and NHB's Heritage Cares support social service agencies to help beneficiaries across arts and heritage programs alongside their fellow Singaporeans. Our artists and athletes have played a key role in helping us progress as a cohesive society. Mr. Seah Chuan asked about our plans to sustain interest in sports, arts and culture, and how MCCY will help artists and athletes embrace the new normal. I think several other members raised the point as well. DPM Hing announced during the budget that the Arts and Culture Resilience Package, the ACRP, and the Sports Resilience Package, the SRP, will be enhanced. Let me now share more details on these measures. Let me start first with the arts and culture sector. Ms. Sylvia Lim and Ms. Janet Ang spoke about how critical the arts is. As we mature and develop as a society, our arts, our culture, our heritage will only become more essential and a greater and more integral part of us. They not only uplift our spirits, but also give expression to our shared heritage. They help us enhance our sense of belonging, binding us together. We must continue to develop the sector by nurturing our artistic talents, providing them with opportunities, spaces, and resources to incubate, to experiment, to innovate, and to collaborate with one another. This will facilitate creative art making and presentation, while ensuring that this also benefits the wider arts community and all Singaporeans. We invested significantly in growing capabilities and audiences through the 2012 Arts and Culture Strategic Review and our SG Arts and Heritage Plans launched in 2018. We also supported arts organizations to deliver a vibrant arts calendar of over 9,000 activities in 2019. That year, in 2019, we saw a record high attendance of 15.6 million at arts and culture events and a record high visitorship of 9.6 million to museums and heritage institutions. However, the pandemic has had a profound impact on the sector, a sector that thrives on presence, not only on stage, but in the audience. Ms. Lim and Ms. Ang talked about the survival of our arts groups and asked about our plans to support our artists. While live performances resumed safely in Phase 3, the return of capacity audience will take some time. This has to be balanced against the need to keep Singapore and Singaporeans safe. This, however, has put pressure on arts organizations and artists to cover operating costs. We will therefore do what we can to safeguard livelihoods and retain capabilities in these sectors. A further 20 million in support measures will be provided to enhance the Arts and Culture Resilience Package. This comes on top of the 55 million introduced in April last year, and which we saw the rollout of the ACRP operating grant in October last year. Let me say a little bit more about these details. First, we'll expand the ACRP operating grant and venue hire subsidy. This will help our arts organizations and artists defray operating costs, which is usually a substantial portion of the costs that they have to meet each month. Second, we will introduce new measures to address some specific concerns. Last December, NAC organized 2 ESCs involving arts organizations and self-employed practitioners. The key themes that were brought up include rethinking arts business and monetization models and how they modernize as well, growing digital capabilities, and also how do they collaborate between themselves within the sector. We have taken on board these comments and will introduce a new SEP grant, Self-Employed Person Grant. This will enhance support for SEPs and gig workers, as Ms. Ang had asked, across the sector to collaborate on projects with one another or indeed with other arts organizations. This will help to build capabilities and create more work opportunities for SCPs. So we recognize that freelancing or self-employment adds spontaneity and innovation to the sector. It helps us to uplift the arts ecosystem, allows there to be a bit of a mix and match kind of approach. And this grant is aimed at preserving that. Whilst we focus on these matters, we also must have a clear eye on what a post-pandemic arts ecosystem must look like. And so to this end, we've introduced a new Business Transformation Fund. This will support the transformation of arts and culture organizations, as well as support the recovery and sustainability in a post-pandemic situation. We want to do this collaboratively because we are stepping into a new normal, one that may last for some time. And so NAC will engage stakeholders to gather views on these new schemes so that we can refine them where necessary before they are launched in a few months in June 2021. In addition, we will continue to help the sector build capabilities that will see them through in the longer term. NEC will continue to provide training grants to our cultural practitioners. These include ongoing schemes like the Capability Development Grant, which have supported artists since 2012. MCCY also supports MOE's initiative to form an alliance between LaSalle and NAFA. The new arts university will further develop the creative capacity of our youths. It facilitates learning and networking opportunities across creative disciplines and provide industry-relevant training. So, we also take a longer-term view towards encouraging cultural philanthropy in partnership with the private and people sectors. We established a Cultural Matching Fund in 2013 to provide a dollar-for-dollar matching of private cash donations to arts and heritage charities. The CMF has indeed been well received. Over 100 charities have benefited from it between 2014 and 2019, with close to $265 million matched. This growth in cultural philanthropy has been sustained with the top-up of CMF in 2017, and we wish to keep up with the spirit of giving. And indeed, this is the one fund that when I sit down and discuss the budget with DPM, I didn't mind telling him was depleted, because it tells us that we have built up an active culture of arts patronage and philanthropy. And we will review the CMF with MOF with a view towards additional top-up of the fund in 2022. MS Low will speak more about MCCY's plans to support our arts and heritage sectors to innovate and also deliver programs in this new normal. Let me turn the focus now to the sports sector, which plays an equally important role in our social fabric. In 2012, Sport SG launched Vision 2030 as a roadmap to empower Singaporeans to live better through sport. This was reviewed in 2019, leading to the launch of Vision 2030 Recharged, where we renewed focus on tailoring programs for various segments of the population. Over the years, we built new sports centres under the Sports Facilities Master Plan and also rejuvenated existing ones. I hope you have been using them. In 2017, we launched Active Health as a social movement to encourage Singaporeans to take ownership of their own health and wellness. Last year, we launched the Active SG Circle as a virtual sports centre to continue engaging the public with online classes to get active. This was something we could do in person, physically, prior to the pandemic, but we've moved online. At MCCY, we recognize the power of sports in bringing Singaporeans together, and we will continue to build on these efforts. Many of our sports businesses and SEPs have also been affected by the pandemic. In 2020, we provided our coaches and fitness instructors with jobs and training opportunities. As at December 2020, Sport SG has put together over 400 training courses with a capacity of 8,500 coaches and instructors. In addition, more than 500 temporary jobs have been created through the SG United Jobs. On top of the 50 million sports resilience package announced last October, we will provide a further 25 million to enhance the SRP. How will we do so? First, we will introduce a new SEP project grant. Like the SEP grant under the ACRP, this grant supports sports SEPs to collaborate with one another and also other sports organizations to develop projects to enhance the health and wellness of Singaporeans. We recognize the important role which many sports freelancers and self-employed persons play, and we want to support you in this endeavor. This grant has three objectives. One, create more work opportunities for sports self-employed persons and freelancers. Two, support capability development through the planning and execution of projects. And three, support the resumption of sporting and community activities as far as possible. Second, we will expand the Enterprise Innovation and Capability Development Grant. Last year, we piloted this at $3 million for the sports industry to build stronger digital capabilities, develop innovative solutions, and also look at how we can upskill. These initiatives, I must say, are not just reactions to the pandemic. They equip our sporting industry with tools to thrive in the future. So we'll provide another 22.5 million to boost these initiatives. Third, we'll extend grants to provide continued support for both businesses as well as individuals. For sports companies, we will extend the operating grant till December 2021. This complements the job support scheme, which is already in place and which offers wage support for sports operators. For individuals, we'll extend the training allowance grant and the structured mentorship program till March 2022. My colleague Palsek Eric will share more details about our plans to support our sports sectors. So all of these measures will undoubtedly help the sectors adapt to the new normal, at least help them financially. But if you ask any artist or any athlete, they will tell you their true lifeblood is really in performing before an appreciative audience and having a vocal and supportive spectatorship. These sectors have much to offer, and there is something for everyone, whether it is keeping active through online fitness classes, cheering our athletes on, or enjoying a live performance. I urge all of you to support our athletes and our instructors as they go on with these performances. So, despite the pandemic, 2021 is shaping up to be an exciting year for the sporting fraternity as sports activities have progressively resumed. With the recent move to allow group activities of up to 8 persons, community-based teams can now take on a 4v4 format. Furthermore, we are starting to host international events. Last month, we successfully hosted the Singapore Tennis Open, an ATP 250 event. Over 50 players from more than 15 countries competed, with up to 250 spectators per day allowed in the semi-finals and the finals matches. We showed the world that Singapore can resume international sports events safely. Looking ahead, we can prepare for the return of more marquee sporting events, such as the Rugby Sevens in October. Mr. Mark Che, Mr. Sito Ipin, Mr. Xiao Chuan asked about our plans to prepare our athletes in the upcoming games, whilst at the same time ensuring their safety. This year, our athletes can look forward to several major games, such as the Olympics, the Paralympics, the SEA Games, and the ASEAN Para Games. We are supporting our athletes' training while keeping an eye, of course, on the global pandemic situation. This includes facilitating safe travel for athletes to participate in overseas competitions, to qualify for the games, to train, and to hone their competitive edge as they prepare for a peak at these sporting events. The Singapore Sport Institute and the National Youth Sport Institute specialists are working with our athletes as they resume full training intensity. Let me emphasize that safety, especially our athletes' safety, will remain our utmost priority. And as more international qualification competition dates are released, we will schedule our athletes, coaches, and officials to be vaccinated progressively. Mr. Sito and Mr. Xie asked about our efforts to provide a safe and positive environment within our sports ecosystem. This is a very important issue for us. No sports person, male or female, should feel unsafe as they train, compete, or play in any sports, in any role. We also need to address emerging trends such as cyberbullying and online harassment. Therefore, a safe sport program will be established through the Safe Sport Commission. The program will be grounded on 3 actions: prevent, address, and assure. First, to prevent inappropriate behavior, a unified code will be developed to provide the sporting community with a shared reference point against inappropriate behavior. We have started consultations on the code with non-government organizations, and over the next 6 months, there will be more engagements with athletes, with coaches, parents, sports leaders, amongst others, to refine the code so that we can achieve a set of standards that will engender confidence in sport participation. Second, to address incidents, a confidential third-party reporting channel and enhanced case management will offer affected individuals access to reporting channels and support. Third, to assure participants, the Safe Sport Commission will introduce an accreditation framework. The criteria will be based on the adoption of the unified code, implementation of relevant policies, and training of persons involved. Sport organizations that meet the criteria will be accredited through a Safe Sport mark. This will help sports participants to easily identify sporting organizations that are committed to practicing safe sport. The Safe Sport program also contributes to the ongoing conversations on Singapore's women development, although not all sport participants are women. We want to facilitate an ongoing and enabling sporting environment that protects both women and girls. This is also an example of the government's approach to addressing women's development in partnership with stakeholders. In sports, apart from providing a positive environment and framework for our sporting community, we must also have bold ambitions. Mr. Mark Che spoke about this, so did Mr. Sito Ipin, who asked about our plans to uplift Singapore's football. So, football is a sport with mass appeal. It is the most participated sport, team sport in Singapore, bringing together Singaporeans from all walks of life. A national team that can perform at the highest level affirms Singapore's multiple pathways of success and is a source of national pride. It can also expand opportunities for all to play, to coach, or just to be that crazy football fan cheering our team on. Our football is not quite where we would like it to be. We can do more, we can do better to bring back the Kallang Roar and give our young lions every opportunity to pursue their dreams. Mr. Che asked what steps can be taken. Let me outline some quick thoughts on this. First, we'll have to grow the base of participation. Young talent must be nurtured. We have to encourage more to play and give structure to the development of young talent. Our young players spend a lot of their time in school, so what we do with schools will be important. We are working with MOE to have a nationwide adoption of a national football curriculum. We will build football academies working with schools with clear pathways for progression. We must have good coaches and a common system of play with enhanced training infrastructure wrapped around a football academy for those with the best potential so that they can train, they can compete, and at the same time, they can continue with their studies. Importantly, we must look at how a student can continue to train at the highest levels while still continuing to gain a first-class education. We will consider scholarships for the best young talents so that they can have access to high-quality training environment, whether here or overseas, whilst pursuing their studies. We must also focus on matters off the pitch, areas like fitness, like nutrition, discipline, and a player's mental fortitude. All of them are factors which are equally important to success. But there is one more ingredient for success, and that is our collective will and our collective unity to pursue a shared goal. It has to be all of us working together, united, pulling in the same direction for this project to have a chance. Uplifting Singapore football is a national project, and I encourage all of us to rally around our common goal. We will continue to do our best to build a sustainable and resilient football ecosystem which Singaporeans can be proud of. Paulsec Eric will share more about these initiatives later on. Another area of pride and confidence for Singaporeans is our cultural heritage. Our cultural landscape is a rich fusion of traditions, of rituals and crafts. These are also inextricably bound to each of us and to our own national identity. We must continue to commemorate and pass it on for future generations. We will redouble our efforts to safeguard both our tangible and intangible heritage and celebrate cultural icons like our cultural medallion recipients who have contributed so richly to our nation's development. Mr. Darryl David talked about celebrating our hawker culture, making all of us hungry with his very graphic descriptions of food. Last December, our hawker culture was inscribed on the UNESCO representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity, and I thank everyone for their overwhelming support, and indeed, we are very, very proud of our hawkers. MCCY and NHB remain committed to promoting our hawker culture. First, for the Singapore Heritage Festival 2021, we can look forward to a digital exhibition of poetic and graphical interpretations of our hawker culture. Second, content related to hawker centre landmarks will be displayed online and at selected MRT stations as part of the Ride and Discover exhibition. Third, we will continue to showcase our hawker culture through festivals, exhibitions and programs at our museums and using grants from NHB and taking on board the ideas and suggestions that Mr. David has sketched out. 2021 marks the 50th anniversary of the promulgation of the Preservation of Monuments Act. The preservation of national monuments is important to safeguard our heritage. Our heritage encompasses not only intangible ones like the hawker culture, which we spoke about, but also of our heritage buildings. These structures have withstood the test of time, and they very visibly embody our nation's heritage. We regularly restore our national monuments and will carry out a series of restoration projects in the coming years to ensure that they continue to stand strong. Completed restorations include the Abdul Ghaffar Mosque, Sultan Mosque, and the St. James Power Station. Moving ahead, one major project will be the restoration of the Istana main building, built between 1867 and 1869. The Istana and Sri Temasek were collectively gazetted as a national monument in 1992. They have borne witness to many historical milestones, including our transition to a sovereign state. Restoration works for the Istana will commence in 2023, while other sites like the former Istana Kampong Glam will commence in 2022. We will commemorate the Golden Jubilee of our national monuments with an exhibition in June 2021. This exhibition will showcase the preservation journey of all 73 national monuments for the very first time. We'll also be commemorating the 25th anniversary of the Museum Roundtable with a year-long celebration. This includes mystery museum tours to explore lesser-known museums, a travelling exhibition, and complementary museum programs. My colleague MOS Loh will share more details on these plans. So as we strive to build a cohesive and confident nation, it is vital for Singaporeans to care for one another and to contribute to a better Singapore for all. A key focus of MCCY is our youths. And last September, I spoke about how our youths of today will be our leaders of tomorrow. And I know that our young people, especially fresh graduates at this time, worry that the crisis will have a long-lasting impact on their careers. We understand these concerns and will do our best to help overcome them. My colleague MOS Elvin will share more about MCCY's efforts to provide opportunities and other pathways for these young people to overcome these challenges and to emerge stronger. Ms. Henny So and Ms. Joan Pereira asked how the government will encourage more people to care. That's a very important topic. When the pandemic hit, our youth stepped up to help those in need. Youth COS Singapore adjusted its volunteering activities to meet community demands. For instance, they partnered IMDA to equip seniors with digital literacy skills, very much needed during the digital era of the pandemic, via the digital learning circles. Youth Corps will continue with these good efforts. About 1,400 youths will be engaged through the Youth Corps Leaders Program and Program X in 2021. These youths will develop the skills to implement projects to address specific societal needs. Further, Youth Corps will offer about 4,000 volunteering opportunities for youths. These include online and subsequently physical programs for persons with disabilities as well. The responsibility for building a caring society must involve every Singaporean. And so, on that score, we plan for every town in Singapore to have a coordinating node that brings community groups and resources together. In 2018, SG Care's volunteer centres, or VCs, were initiated to achieve this. VCs are based in a community, ground up, chosen to develop and deploy volunteers, foster partnerships, and this includes existing structures that already exist on the ground so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and strengthen volunteer management capabilities. Since end 2018, 12 VCs have been appointed and have engaged about 10,000 volunteers. A few weeks ago, DPM, Ms. Tin Pei Ling and I witnessed the launch of a VC at Geylang Town, operated by Care Community Services Society. We met with many staff, their volunteers, and the corporate partners of the VC, who are doing a wonderful job mobilizing community stakeholders to support the vulnerable. So we'll continue to expand these efforts, and there will be an SG Cares Volunteer Centre in all 24 towns by March 2022. So we also want to partner corporates to care for the community. In 2016, the Business and IPC Partnership Scheme, or BIPS, was introduced to encourage corporate volunteerism. Through the scheme, businesses enjoy 250% tax deduction on wages and related expenses when their employees volunteer at IPCs. To encourage corporates to continue caring, DPM Hing is keen to encourage this and announced that BIPS will be extended till 31st December 2023. The National Volunteer and Philanthropy Centre, NVPC, will lead efforts to raise awareness and also enhance the adoption of BIPS. And NVPC will introduce a BIPS clinic for interested corporates to tap into this, to share more and learn more about the scheme. So let me conclude. MCCY's overarching mission is to bring people together, forging community spirit and intertwining our stories to form a cohesive Singapore tapestry. That has been the essence and hallmark of everything that we do and all our programs at MCCY. However, for much of 2020, with the pandemic, this was not easy. In fact, we had to work on the opposite. Keeping people safe meant keeping people apart. And overnight, many of my ministry's staff, our partners, our stakeholders, our many community leaders had to pivot to safe management measures and play a variety of different roles to keep Singaporeans safe. All of them went the extra mile well outside their usual comfort zone to protect the safety of Singaporeans, and I thank them very, very much. But as soon as we also soon realized that being apart did not break us apart. It did not dampen our spirits. It did not diminish our desire to keep the threads of our Singapore tapestry strong, cohesive, and resilient. And I'm sure that each of us, as I said earlier, would have our own anecdotes of ordinary Singaporeans doing extraordinary things, going the extra mile to help one another through this crisis. These are the stories that will define us. When one day we look back and reflect on this crisis of a generation, we will remember that in this crisis we came out stronger because we went in together. And that, sir, is the unfinished story of the Singapore tapestry. Let us continue to weave these stories together, and indeed, we will be stronger as a nation. Thank you, sir.